Collins and Hansen's book, Great by Choice, Uncertainty, Chaos, and Luck, Why Some Firms Thrive Despite Them All, speaks to the construction industry's unique set of conditions. Overall, our industry's risk-reward dynamic is like no other. We have a fast-changing industry and risky environment complicated by its custom nature, with many uncontrollable forces. This review focuses on analyzing Great by Choice's conclusions and analyzing them as possible answers to construction contracting's challenges. We have assessed 3 of Collins's books, Good to Great, Built to Last, and now Great by Choice. These works are focused on business performance and sustainability. We believe that Great by Choice is the most applicable of the 3 books to construction contracting. There are many operating insights along with a focused number of transformative concepts that we see as extensions of what most efficient contractors do. The book's research framework sets a high-performance threshold. Firms that achieve 10 times better performance than an able competitor in a changing and risk-filled market over a 15-year period. The research team found the following industries had 10 times performance in their extreme business conditions: medical, insurance, and airline. Due to the study's requirement for extensive data and access to leaders, these were publicly held firms. Although construction didn't make the list, we do not advocate selling out and starting an airline. There's an adage that says the best way to make a small fortune in aviation is to start with a large one. What we are saying is that construction contractors can learn from Collins and Hansen's conclusions about thriving under uncertainty and change. This is what we discuss in the remainder of this paper. Here's the concept. This book is not a continuation of Collins's previous work, but one that asks a new question. What do the superior performing companies do differently than their able competitors in a changing and risky business environment? This research caught our attention because of construction's extreme business characteristics. Collins, Hansen, and over 20 researchers perform the tedious work of data capture, analysis, and follow-up interviews. We should be thankful. This rigorous approach is a contrast to best-selling but anecdotal and observational business texts. The authors analyzed an extensive set of facts, then created theories, which is the only time opinion and experience were used, and then tested those theories. All this was done over many months until they were satisfied with the research's depth, breadth, and quality. The following sections outline the attributes and behaviors of 10 times better companies when compared with their less successful counterparts. We describe Collins and Hansen's conclusions and then apply them to our industry. Level 5 ambition is the generative mentality that we want to see in our workforce. An executive with a level 5 ambition feels an internalized responsibility for the firm's continued good results. This leader works selflessly but fiercely. Their ambition is focused on the firm's success. Since the CEO of any organization dramatically affects company staff by their tone, pace, practices, the method and beliefs of this person have a great and lasting effect on their company. Their fingerprints or resulting culture have the most significant impact on the firm of any one person. Level 5 leadership means inspiring people from this focus, but selfless perspective. These leaders' determination is about the prosperity of the firm they head. These kinds of leaders think about who rather than what in their decisions. Construction is a human-enabled industry. Every put-in-place piece of work has been touched by someone's hands. When those hands are focused on the success of the firm, and this commitment is modeled by everyone right up to the top leadership, the company can thrive in this uncertain business. When a field manager is willing to operate equipment in a recession, this leader is modeling a successful attitude for all employees. SMAC is an acronym for specific, methodical, and consistent. These are the core practices that the 10 times companies implemented and did not change for years. The change was only to 15% of their practices on average when they did. Less successful comparison companies modified their practices on average 60%. We have been writing practice manuals for our clients since 2009. This is a core service that has a specific process and a methodology and unifying approach that we use, and it assures consistent results as outlined in the research. SMAC is comprised of 3 principles and bounded by level 5 ambition. They are fanatic discipline, productive paranoia, and empirical creativity. We discuss these last 3 concepts in subsequent sections. Take fanatic discipline. This is a sub-attribute of SMAC. It is foundational to high performance. As contractors know, compliance to processes is the first best practice. Laxness in execution will cause financial losses. Since pre-tax profit is in the single digits in our industry, costs can easily exceed revenue due to one project mistake. Additionally, this same mistake may cause negative cash flow, that is, an unpaid progress billing, leaving the contractor in a financially stressed position. They may have to borrow funds to pay for current obligations, increasing their operational cost. Collins and Hansen used the example of the 20-mile march to illustrate one part of fanatic discipline. 10 times companies do not extend themselves when a great opportunity presents itself, nor do they take days off when the going is rough. The concept of the 20-mile march is the same as the best craftsperson uses. Steady and focused progress while keeping one's eyes open for changes and complications. A good example of this is competing Antarctic explorers Amundsen and Scott acted in contrasting ways. And Collins used this example to illustrate the 20-mile march. Amundsen was the first to the South Pole and returned to his country as a hero, while Scott died on his return trip. Each took a different level of care with basic management tasks, such as planning the journey, executing the plan, measuring progress, and creating fail-safe systems. Suffice it to say that Amundsen took more time with each pre-exploration day to plan each task, create redundant systems, anticipate things that could go wrong, and make alternate plans in the event of the unforeseen. The 20-mile march reminds us of what we see in growing but highly efficient construction contractors. Quality growth is one way to describe this method of managing effort over the long term. As construction people know, exponential growth exposes a firm to the risk of working with unknown clients, designers, and vendors, while employing new staff unvetted over time. We have worked with solid companies that have turned down millions of dollars in work to ensure that they grow slowly and sustainably, with integrity to their core values, safely delivering quality, put-in-place work every time while making money in the process. Their current clients appreciate the focus on slow growth since they continue to receive quality construction services. We have also worked with people who want to get her done and are willing to take on large projects and introduce unnecessary risk into their companies to chase more turnover opportunistically. It is important to point out that the best clients and craftspeople reward construction's 20-mile marchers with loyalty and longevity. The basics matter in any business. In construction, much money is lost by not executing the basics. Simple, everyday acts of constructing that are overlooked. One of our clients calls these oversights the cookie jar of millions. In construction, performing the fundamentals will continue to be an opportunity for those who understand it, and a risk for those who don't. Collins and Hansen make it clear that is true. Productive paranoia is anticipating negative events regardless of the amount of evidence. However, the high-performing companies were not overwhelmed by the possibilities, but took direct action to eliminate or minimize those potential events, the largest threats being first on their list. Examples include instituting a do-over button, accessible to each attendee in poor pre-construction meetings. As a result, the first time a meeting is repeated is usually the last time it happens. Another example is having a project executive hierarchical structure lessens young project manager mistakes. Everyone has a gap of knowledge. The project executive is a resource to fill those gaps. And another example of this is meeting with a client face-to-face where there is a need to ask confronting questions. Their answers and accompanying body language will tell most of the truth. Empirical creativity. Collins and Hansen argue that the use of data to spur creative thought is a core practice of high-performing companies who operate in a changing and risky business environment. In any business, and especially in construction contracting, the number of different opinions is the same number as the number of executives in a meeting. The start of any problem-solving discussion is not always smooth, with many approaches to defining and solving the problem being expressed. However, if the discussion is started by data, any group has a single starting point about how to define and solve a problem. And looking ahead for the next profitable insight, and that is to outpace the competition, data is the ultimate source of credible information. Contractors have found many unrealized insights about the construction business from both industry data and their own. One industry example is paying accounts early. Paying bills earlier than required is a trait of the top quartile contractors. Conversely, below median performers have weak pre-construction planning processes or a philosophy of overhead frugality. Here's a concept: fire bullets, then cannonballs. It is an instruction for incremental innovation. Bullets are small innovative actions and cannonballs are large bets on that innovation. As one can guess, bullets are relatively inexpensive and quiet, while cannonballs are not. Certainly, the market is the ultimate judge of an invention paying off. Making many small bets, then waiting for the results, no matter how strongly one feels is sure, may be the best long-term strategy. Given that there are many small bets, there is no predicting the level of each success or failure. Certainly, there are ones which will be modest successes, while others will be major ones. Those initiatives that prove to be strongly profitable are where any company will follow up with significant resources or cannonballs. To listen to business pundits and popular authors, the great impression is that innovation is a differentiator in all industries. However, high levels of innovation do not distinguish high-performing firms from their lesser competitors. A great amount of effort was spent by Collins and Hansen to find out why. The authors found that a minimum level of innovation is necessary to survive, to keep up. 10 times better companies kept one step behind their competitors' technology. You see, there's a corollary to this idea in construction. A minimum amount of technology is required for any contractor to keep headcount down and process speed up. However, the use of technology does not ensure profits. In construction contracting, we have found that adopting technology requires 4 expensive investments. The first is software purchases. The second is employee training. The third is customized programming due to the unique nature of every construction firm and the lack of uniformity in software. And then the fourth is normalization time. This last one can take as long as 18 months for a technology conversion while processes are being realigned. You see, in our single-digit net profit before tax business, if these 4 investments cost $200,000, then $5 million of extra revenue or turnover must be earned to break even on this cost. And we've not included the cost of inevitable errors due to technology conversion. An astute contractor may wonder how to fire bullets when it comes to a major initiative like software. We recommend that a company shore up its processes first. making small investments in standard operating procedures. This can be a qualifying document for software proposals. Can your software follow our process? Is the question. Once in place, new software can be implemented that aligns with the company's procedures. And the standard operating procedures can be updated as the new software requires. Unfortunately, we have seen companies attempt to implement new software without a core set of standard operating procedures in place. The results are often disorganized, inefficient, and embarrassing as the company has to change its operations to fit the software and then retrain its staff. Leading above the death line is ultimately an awareness of the many uncontrollable and deadly factors residing in the construction contracting process. High-performing companies are conservative in their preparations for unplanned adverse effects. They hoard cash and execute their contingency plans quickly. One example cited is the book is the Southwest Airlines one, which turned a profit in the crisis years of 2001 and 2002. They made more money than all their competitors combined during this period. This added to their industry-leading cushion of current assets. A construction contractor needs enough cash to meet expenses, but should not hoard so much cash that he or she underinvests in equipment, planning, or personnel. Helping companies to understand whether they are holding the right amount of cash for their work is one job I've done before by comparing the ratios to Australian financial data. Zoom out and then zoom in. This is a curt way to explain strategic planning. The big picture, that is zooming out, assesses the environment and then planning strategic actions, which is zooming in. Collins and Hansen's study concludes that this is a consistent habit of high performers compared to their less successful competitors. Indeed, construction firms need to plan their strategic pathway in more significant ways than ever before. Zooming out is arguably the most difficult part. What does the future hold? We would add our construction contracting specifics framework, we call it GRAET, that it helps strategic planning. It represents the long and efficient journey of planning. Logically, if lower-level employees learn this practice, the senior-level people will be aided in overcoming their leadership challenges. We believe that if many employees are aware of strategic planning's requirements, it leads to more insightful conversations between people that actually do the work and those who lead and manage it. We have observed companies where laborers and other non-management employees are encouraged to suggest new ideas for the company and are rewarded for doing so. This has resulted in an efficiency that otherwise adds to previous improvements. If business development is only an executive responsibility to extend this thinking, many opportunities will be missed. However, if employees know what a perfect or a good project looks like, that is one that the company finds very skill-aligned to itself, this gives a company more eyes in the market. By the way, the best construction market developers we know are the brown socks, short sleeve types. That is, they're the operators. They're the people that actually do a lot of the work. They know the business. They know the technical demands. As you can guess, the most sophisticated construction service buyers love dealing with an operator, not a prototypical salesperson who's dressed very well and looks lovely or handsome. Formalized risk management has become a mainstream topic in the last few years. It is a standard subject in graduate construction programs at major universities. Sureties and insurance companies have emphasized risk management more than ever. Of course, insurance companies do well when their insureds don't have any claims. But one odd feature of construction contracting is that the less risky the project, the better the reward. We call it return on investment. Even for highly risky projects, building it on paper with contingency planning has anecdotally proven to be an effective improvement strategy in increasing reward and reducing risk. Contracting a much larger project than one has previously done, or their average, is asking for risk. It is for good reason, as cited in the Great by Choice book. It can increase three kinds of risks: deathline, asymmetrical, or uncontrollable. Obviously, not managing risk can lead to a construction firm's demise. One consulting firm, FMI, recently studied this and listed root causes for large contractor failure. Each of these is controllable. The first is just too much change. Too many new practices, the 60% that we talked about earlier. It is 90% of the reason that a company fails. Second is poor strategic leadership. That was involved in 76% of the failures. The third is excessive ego, 62% of the time. The fourth is inadequate capitalization, 58% of the time. And the fifth is loss of discipline, 45%. All of these are controllable by strong and disciplined leadership. Return on luck is a great concept. For anyone in business over the years, luck will find you, good or bad. Planning with this in mind makes a company quicker to respond to adverse or advantageous situations. For the companies studied, the high-performing firms executed faster and more completely when each surprise occurred, whether it's negative or positive. Collins and Hansen share how each industry pair, that is, the 10 times better firm and the average firm, how they acted. Of course, construction executives should be prepared for windfalls and devastations. That is the benefit of productive paranoia, getting an early heads up of what might be going on. This is effective risk management. Managing reversals is never an easy process. However, having a ready-made plan for a client's bankruptcy can put you at the courthouse first. In the case of a voluntary employment separation, you may give an unanticipated promotion to someone who is well qualified, but underutilized, even though her supervisor may say she's not ready, and possibly hoarding her talent to make their life easier. This might be the excuse needed to promote this young leader. If a competitor is bankrupt, it is appropriate to contact the project owner or surety to describe your financial strength and depth of management while inquiring about a time and materials contract. This is good luck. Let's talk about return on luck. For anyone in business over the long term, luck will find you, good or bad. Planning with this in mind makes a company quicker to respond to adverse or advantageous situations. For the companies studied in this book, the high-performing firms executed faster and more completely when each surprise occurred. Collins and Hansen share how each industry pair studied, planned differently in each situation. Of course, construction executives should be prepared for windfalls and devastations always. That is the benefit of productive paranoia. Getting an early heads up on what might be going on. Effective risk management or effective management of good luck. Managing reverses is never an easy process. However, having a ready-made plan for a client's bankruptcy can put you at the courthouse first. In the case of a voluntary employment separation of one of your project managers, you may give an anticipated promotion to someone who's well qualified but underutilized, even though her supervisor may say she's not ready, and possibly hoarding her talent to make their life easier. This might be an excuse needed to promote this young leader. Another example is if a competitor is bankrupt, it is appropriate to contact the project owner or surety to describe your financial strength and depth of management while inquiring about a time and materials contract. Additionally, if you are taking over work on this basis, it might be a good time to slow bidding and refocus some work acquisition employees, such as a business development manager, on these T&M contracts. The field experience that they may receive should have a long-term benefit and will. This is another piece where it pays to have a generative climate. Most of the time, someone who performs business development can also hang a door or create and update a project schedule. Then repurposing staff will not be hard when you really need it. It will keep them nimble in practice for future economic recessions and expansions. Collins and Hansen have given the construction industry a gift. We believe the value of their research is high and should be weighted more heavily than most other business books, especially many current ones, which are anecdotal and observational. We don't believe better practices are mysterious or difficult to find. Our sense is that the answer for the construction industry is in front of all of us. So don't be distracted by the next bestseller. Instead, watch the companies that have the most efficient and durable performance, not those who do the best job of promoting themselves or that are the largest. This is a trap. Indeed, those companies that are less efficient contrast the best. This pairing research method is a common practice, but it is not typical in the construction industry. It would likely highlight significant strategic, cultural, and operating differences if done. The largest lessons from Great by Choice are just three: fanatic discipline, productive paranoia, and empirical creativity. Of course, these are led by executives with a level 5 ambition, an ambition that filters down to all levels of a company. Contrastingly, using opinion or top-line revenue as the starting point of any discussion is deemed not effective. Our observation is that leading contracting organizations are firmly rooted in being able to be constructors first. A construction firm's primary economic value add is the technical mastery of its trade. While good craft skill is essential, the greater challenge is leading people, managing processes, and making timely decisions. Yet the industry struggles to get these things right. Why? Well, one reason is research. Construction organizational performance appears to be one of the most understudied issues of any industry. Data availability is a major issue. Many industries have many publicly held firms, which leads to easily accessible information, including financial performance. The construction industry's publicly held firms are only a handful, and this is out of approximately 385,000. Our firm has carefully compiled a set of efficiency data and continues to add to it. What started as my dissertation at the University of Florida has become a larger and more relevant data set. This proprietary research distills practices that efficient contractors, that is, those that are in the top half in overhead and direct cost ratio, again, most efficient, use and continue to outpace unaware competitors who are those performing below the median, half of all contractors. Highly efficient firms do not want to be studied by university academics and become the subject of a case study. Their desire is to make money alone in the dark. That is, they want to quietly be successful. The resulting lack of industry information means that efficient practices are not widely known. However, construction contractors who pay attention to the existing evidence can move ahead of their peers anonymously while experiencing a smoother business journey. Thank you.